This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have an Electrolux dryer that's making a rumbly, kind of loud noise while it's operating. First I thought it might have been the blower wheel, but when you open the door and the tumbler stops, if you still hear the rumbling noise, then it's the blower wheel. But when this tumbler stops, the noise stops. So I was thinking it might be a roller. So I went through to get ready to replace the roller and the belt and the idler wheel, but it turned out it was something else. So here is a listen to what it sounded like. And then if I grabbed it and turned it, you could hear it a little bit. So my suspicion was a roller. So to fix that, I unplugged it and I take off these screws on the back of the top panel so I can slide the top panel off. So I'm going to push the top panel away from me and lift it up and take it away from the dryer. And that's going to allow me to get to a couple of screws here on the top that I'm going to zip out. These are just little Phillips head screws. And then I'm going to open the door, and there's a couple of screws here. These are longer, more aggressively patterned screws that are going into the plastic. We've got to remove those. And then there's also a couple on the bottom of the dryer front panel that we have to remove too. Those away. And we can pull away the front panel a little bit, and then there's these little blue wires. We want to remove this modular connector by lifting up on the tab. There's a couple of wires down here for the door switch that we want to remove. And we still have to get a couple of screws off the bottom. So I'm going to lift up the dryer a little bit, put my toolkit underneath to give me more room to work. I'll remove those two Phillips head screws, and then I should be able to get the front panel off. I actually worked on a dryer like this, same model that had the exact same problem. I thought it was a roller wheel, but it turns out to be something else. So I have to get a couple more connectors off here at the bottom, get the front panel off. Then we have this part here, the bulkhead, that we have to remove, and there's also some wires. This wire is going to the light, so we have to separate those two. And I just pried them apart to get them loose. I'm going to use my pliers to pinch in behind to release these two clips that hold this wire harness, and just lift that out of the way. And then I'm going to separate this connector down here using a small standard head screwdriver. You could use a paint scraper too to get these to separate. We just want to disconnect all the wires, and then there's just actually five screws we have to remove to get the bulkhead out. I'm going to remove this little Phillips head screw right here. It's holding on the cowling. Remove these four screws on each corner, little Phillips head screws. And then there's two screws holding on the control panel we have to remove too, two small Phillips head screws. Get these corner ones done. To get the bulkhead off, you have to lift up and then pull towards you. Kind of wiggle and lift up, pull towards you. And then I think there was still another little plastic connector hooked on that I had to pry off. You can either pry them off or get behind it with a pair of pliers and pinch it and pull it through. So right away I noticed in the blower housing there was a lot of stuff, and that was kind of unusual. It's like usually you see a little bit of lint but not much. There's a lot of lint in there. Started to think that maybe that was what was causing the problem. And then when I looked in more, I saw that there was some huge piece of cloth and more lint. Looks like a sock got pulled in there. So now, remembering the previous Electrolux dryer that had the same symptom, I realized that the same thing had happened. It had somehow pulled the sock into the blower housing, and that's what was making the terrible rumbling noise. It wasn't the rollers. The customer said the dryer was only 2 years old, so you wouldn't have rollers wearing out that fast. Didn't make any sense. But all this crud in here rolling around at high speed spin was creating that noise. So I just used a small screwdriver and I was able to remove all the lint that was in there. But the main thing that was doing it was this small blue sock. I think on this model it's good to use a knit bag when you have small socks or small items. I think these are probably baby socks, and one of them got pulled right down into the blower housing. And it creates a kind of an uneven spin, and that's what creates that rumbly noise. There was a lot of lint in there too. I was surprised. With all this lint in position, the blower vanes can't really push much air, so the dryer won't be able to do very much at all. It won't be able to move much air, and dryers are all about airflow. So when you get to this point, do your best to get rid of every bit of lint that you can see in there. And then once that's done, we just do a reassembly. We just do everything in reverse. We'll put the bulkhead back on. We'll put the front panel back on. Get all our wire connections reconnected, and then we'll put the top panel back on. And you're done. So when we tested it afterward, it sounded really good. Nice and smooth. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope this helps you with your Electrolux dryer too. And please subscribe when you get a chance.